The mist hung thick over the river, a silent blanket shrouding the world in an eerie stillness. Inside the cabin, all was quiet, save for the steady crackle of the fire. The flickering orange light danced across the wooden beams, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch across the walls like quiet whispers. Lena's breath came in sharp, quick bursts as she knelt beside the girl. Her heart pounded with a rhythmic urgency, a steady reminder of the chaos they had escaped. The girl lay limp on the thick wool rug, her skin still cold to the touch despite the warmth from the crackling hearth. Lena wrapped her thick blanket around the child, her hands trembling as she rubbed the small, lifeless hands between her own, desperately willing warmth to return. "Come on, kid," she muttered under her breath, the words barely a whisper. Her pulse raced, but there was no time for panic. "Stay with me." The girl shivered, her breath shallow, but her eyes remained closed, unseeing. Lena's gaze flickered to the kettle on the hearth, filling it with water from the metal jug. The fire would help, but she needed more. More warmth, more time. It was then that she saw it. A shadow flickering outside the window. Large, moving, deliberate. Lena froze, her heart suddenly lodged in her throat. She could feel the weight of the silence pressing in, thick and suffocating. Her fingers wrapped around the worn leather handle of the hunting knife she always kept close, and with a slow, steady movement, she rose from her crouch. Quietly, she moved to the window, her back pressed against the wall as her eyes scanned the darkened clearing. And there it was, the bear, its massive form barely visible through the rolling mist, its head low, dark eyes locked on her. Watching, Lena's breath caught, her heart hammering in her chest. Every instinct screamed at her to grab her rifle, to fight, but something kept her rooted to the spot. This wasn't the same bear she had seen moments before. This one was different, more purposeful, more alive in its gaze. It had followed them. But why? The air in the room was heavy, charged with an unspoken tension. Lena's grip tightened on the knife, her mind racing. The bear had saved the girl from the river, but now it stood outside, watching, waiting. Was it a protector, or was there something more to this? Behind her, the girl stirred, a soft groan slipping from her lips as her eyes fluttered open. Lena rushed to her side, her hand reaching out, brushing damp strands of hair from the girl's forehead. "Hey, you're safe," Lena whispered, her voice thick with exhaustion. "You're okay?" The girl's gaze darted around the room, panic flashing in her eyes before they locked onto the window. She gasped, scrambling backward with startling speed, nearly knocking the kettle over. "Shh, hey," Lena said, reaching for her, trying to calm the girl's trembling body. "It's all right." But the girl shook her head violently, her voice ragged with fear. "No, no, it's still out there," she whimpered. "It followed me. It's here." Lena's stomach twisted as she glanced toward the window. The bear stood motionless, a silent guardian outside. "The bear," Lena said slowly, confusion clouding her thoughts. "It saved you." The girl hugged the blanket tighter around herself, her body shaking uncontrollably. "You don't understand," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "They sent it." Lena's heart skipped a beat. She turned to the girl, her expression hardening. "What did you say?" The girl's eyes widened, fear evident in her every word. "They sent it to find me, to bring me back." A cold shiver ran down Lena's spine. The girl's words felt like a weight pressing down on her chest. There was something deeper at play here, something much darker. The bear wasn't just an animal. It was part of something much bigger. Lena swallowed hard, her thoughts spinning. "What are you talking about?" But the girl shook her head, her voice breaking with desperation. "I don't know. I don't know what they are, but they use animals. They make them hunt. They make them watch." Lena's mind reeled. She had no answers, only questions that churned like a storm in her thoughts. Who were they? And what had they done to this girl? What had they made her run from? The girl's hand clutched the blanket tightly, her breath hitching. "They'll send more," she whispered. "They always do." Lena's hand clenched into a fist. She didn't know what this was, but she would protect the girl. There was no other choice. She wouldn't let whatever force this was take her. Lena turned toward the door, her stomach knotting. Slowly, she unlatched the lock and cracked it open just enough to peek outside. The clearing was empty. The trees stood still, the mist thinning under the light of the rising sun. Yet, in the stillness, Lena felt it. A presence. Not the bear. Something else. Something watching. She slammed the door shut, bolting it once more. Turning back to the girl, Lena forced a small, reassuring smile. "It's okay," she said, though the words tasted hollow in her mouth. "We'll figure this out." The girl met her gaze, a flicker of something new in her eyes. Trust. For the first time since they had met, Lena saw a glimmer of hope there. Lena didn't know what was coming next, or what lay ahead for them both. But one thing was certain. She would protect this girl at all costs. The world beyond these walls may have been dark and uncertain, but Lena would face it head-on. Together. As the fire burned low and the early morning light bathed the cabin in warmth, Lena held on to that truth. Whatever was out there, whatever was waiting, would not take this child.